And I saw this tweet today. I have to read it to you because it's so funny. They've really been struggling over there because it's just indefensible. For 10 years, these people have been telling us we're red-pilled on physiognomy. If you're handsome, it means you're a good person. And then they foist this fat, ugly turd on us. And we say, the physiognomy doesn't lie. This guy's scum. And they're telling us, oh, no, but not like that. Oh, it's really funny, but not like that. Post physique, but not for Vance. Okay. So they're really having a hard time. And they're pulling out all the stops to defend this guy. And I think the only reason they're doing it is because they're paid.
Could be.
But I want to read one of the tweets to you. This is a defense of JD Vance. This is Vance's top soldier. And this guy runs with all of them. He is their top soldier, their top defender. His name is Matt Forney. And unsurprisingly, Matt Forney is also fat. So I don't know what's going on. Can they find a skinny white person in the whole crew? Between Raw Egg Nationalist, who is brown, who is a Libyan Muslim, Bronze Age Pervert, who is a Michelin skinny Jew. They can't find one skinny Chad white guy in the whole group. It's very weird. And anyway, so Matt Forney's their top soldier. He's this fat guy. I think he has an Asian wife, I think he wrote a whole book about sex tourism in Southeast Asia at one point.
Disgusting.
So this guy's a total freak. This is what his defense of JD Vance is as of today. And I'm going to read it to you. This is a 100% real post. You can search it up on X. This is a 100% real post that was actually authored and published on the X platform today as a defense of JD Vance. I'm going to read it to you. It says, quote, I stand by what I said here in the specific case of Usha Vance, who he considers to be white. She was raised here, has an American accent, and acts like an American. If her skin was a bit lighter, she would pass for white like Nikki Haley. Moreover, I refuse to take anyone who complains about JD Vance's wife seriously. Vance married her because he spent most of his formative years being terrorized by his drug addict mother, was traumatized by it, and sought a woman who was the exact opposite of her. In other words, JD Vance hates white people so much that he was looking for the opposite of a white person to marry.
I mean, most of the time I agree with Nick Fuentes like 100%, but I also have to be honest, I'm not a hypocrite. This is not what he said. Literally, he said that he was searching for a wife who is the opposite of his mother because his mother was using a lot of drugs. So he didn't talk about skin color. So it's kind of weird that Nick just said it. But anyway, let's continue.
He was so traumatized by his family that he hates white people. And that is why when he was looking for a wife, he said, what's the opposite of a white woman? Ah, I know, an Indian woman. I'll marry her.
He didn't say the opposite of a white woman, the opposite of a drug user. But anyway, let's see.
This is a defense. This is a defense of JD Vance. People are saying, wait a second, JD Vance is supposed to be a white nationalist? His kids are brown. His wife is brown. And the defenders of Vance are saying, no, don't worry. He only has a brown wife because he hates white people so much he wanted to marry the opposite of a white person. Oh, okay. Well, in that case, like that's a defense? That's supposed to be a reassurance. He writes, I and tons of other men who dealt with maternal abuse growing up can relate. Here again, you have another example of a JD Vance fan relating to Vance because they have a lot of problems, which is interesting. This is the crowd that's always talking about, you need to be stuffed in a locker. We need to get back to bullying theater kids. And wasn't that their whole line at the beginning of the year? About Vivek Ramaswamy, they said, we need to get back to jocks putting nerds in lockers. Now they look at Vance, the congenital, archetypal fat dweeb, and they say, that's a guy I play Halo with. Okay, so what happened to the jock thing? Anyway, it goes on. It says, Vance has a wife and children. 80% of the freaks whining about him being a race traitor will die with a sock over their dick in a dingy basement. And as much as I hate the you wouldn't believe this stuff if you got laid line of argument, I really have never encountered anyone who complained about interracial relationships who wasn't a hoe-scaring creep. Then, in a follow-up tweet, he said, Usha's pretty hot. I wonder how much of the agitation about her from the right is just seething jealousy that Vance got the hot girl.
Okay, that's kind of weird. Like, obviously everyone can have their own opinion, but she's not very hot or attractive, in my opinion.
So these are white nationalists that are writing this? These are ostensibly supposed to be white nationalists. These are supposed to be immigration restrictionists, white identitarians. Their gripe with me is that I'm not white, they say. Okay, guilty's charged. They say, you're going back if you're brown. They say total N-word death. These are white nationalists. And the defense of JD Vance is, let's break it down piece by piece. Even though she's a brown immigrant from India, well, she talks like an American and acts like an American, so she's American. If she was white, she would be white. Yeah. If her skin was a bit lighter, she could pass for white.
No shit, Sherlock. Like, obviously, if someone is more white, then they are white. Like, surprise, surprise. But anyway.
If her skin was lighter, she would pass for white. So, in other words, if she was white, she would look white. Okay, got it.
Okay.
Then he goes on, he says, the only reason anyone would have a problem with JD Vance having an immigrant wife from India and non-white children is if they're an incel. Okay, only incels care about interracial relationships. If you're a white person that values your race and you want to have a white wife and white kids, well, you're an incel. You're a loser incel. He says the only reason Vance married outside of his race is because he hates his white family so much he sought to marry the opposite of a white person, couldn't bring himself to love a white person.
And again, that's not what he said. And don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to defend JD Vance, not at all. But I'm not a hypocrite, so I also have to be honest. That's not what he said. But anyway, let's continue.
And at the very end said that the only reason people have a problem is because they're jealous of how hot his Indian wife is. This is a white nationalist in 2025. These are the people that said, you have to vote for Trump for mass deportations. These are the people that said for 2 years that criticizing Israel was spiritually brown. Spiritually brown, brown-coded. They said, if you said that Jews run America, you're a third worldist. And then in the next breath, they say that a guy marrying an immigrant is totally fine because, she looks American enough. She talks like an American.
So?
They turn around and say, you're jealous of how hot this Indian woman is. That's the only reason you'd have a problem with this. And it's defensible because the guy just hates white people so much that he had to marry someone from the opposite race of white people. Am I the only consistent racist in the whole country? I thought I was the brown one. I thought I was the third worldist. Am I the only consistent white nationalist? Am I the only consistent white identitarian? Am I the only one that still cares about immigration? This is insane. And by the way, let's just very briefly restate the argument. What is the problem here? The problem is that America is besieged by non-white immigration. It is making America into a non-white country.
And this is 100% true. I completely agree with Nick on this point. Like, just go outside. This is just a fact. In my opinion, it is a fact. Like, you can see it day by day, like how the communities are changing. Like, this is 100% accurate. And let's see.
These non-white immigrants are changing how our country is. In a way, they're taking our children's birthright. This country and the fruits of it are our children's birthright. And these immigrants are coming here, and they are taking the best jobs, taking the seats in the most selective schools. They're moving into the most exclusive zip codes. They're becoming powerful. They're running for office, like in the case of Zohran Mamdani or Vivek Ramaswamy. They have power over us. This is a problem. Now, the Republican Party in the age of Trump is animated by nativism. Nativism is a preference for the native-born over the foreign-born. The native-born, mostly white Americans, over the foreign-born, non-white hordes that are coming in legally and illegally to replace us and what should have been our children. Now, it is, I think, reasonable to say that the successor to Donald Trump, the inheritor of this movement, should be a nativist. They should value America's white identity, its white heritage. They should see themselves as a part of that heritage, part of that cloth, part of that social fabric. They should be bound to those heritage Americans, those white Americans, and they should defend their interests. Contra the interests of the foreign-born, the immigrants, the multinational corporations that profit from bringing them here, and the foreign governments that want to have them educated here and trained here. If the successor to MAGA is married to the problem, if the successor to this nativist movement is married to a non-white immigrant, foreign-born from California, and his children are non-white, second-gen immigrants, then none of what I just said applies to this person. If JD Vance is married to a first-gen Indian immigrant, because he has so much antipathy for his ancestors, for his white ancestors, if he would be angry at the insinuation that being American has something to do with being white because his children are biracial, obviously he cannot fully identify with us. Obviously he cannot fully relate to, understand, or combat the problem.
And this is a very important point, like Nick is saying here. That's 100% right. Like, if you are the man who is saying, like, we need more white children and American has to be more white and things like that, and you are this guy and yourself, you're not even doing it, then you're kind of a weird example, right? I mean, like, that sounds very hypocrite to me. If you tell other people they should, like, do this and they should do that, but you're not even doing it yourself. That's like kind of edgy, in my opinion, and kind of suspicious. But anyway, let's see what Nick has to say more about it. But this is a very good point, and people should talk about this more. It's weird that a guy who is like preaching that America has to be more white and America has white people have to have more children and things like that, and this guy is not even doing it himself. That's kind of weird.
His kids, being second-generation non-white immigrants, they are part of replacement migration. JD Vance is a part of replacement migration. What do you think replacement migration is? Did we all just forget? Is there like this selective, collective amnesia? Replacement migration is when foreigners come here, they have kids or they intermarry with the native population, And they have non-white kids that replace the white kids. That's literally JD Vance's family.
True, true.
So how is he going to fight replacement migration when he is a part of it? How is he going to be sympathetic to the white natives when he is in bed literally with the foreign born? How's that even possible? And this monologue in and of itself would infuriate him because as a husband to a foreign-born wife and a father to second-gen immigrant children, he wants to protect them. He is bound to them by blood and by the sacraments. How can he be an effective nativist? How can he be expected to be an effective nativist? And here's another question. Is it too much to ask that the President of the United States, we're looking for one person, the successor to the nativist movement, would not have a family arrangement like this? Is that too much to ask? That's the point. So listen, Usha Vance, she's pretty. She's a pretty Indian woman. And she's clearly very intelligent. She doesn't seem very nice, and I doubt she's conservative. So I don't know her. I don't have a personal problem with her, and I don't hate her because she's Indian. People say you're attacking his wife. I'm not attacking his wife at all.
And this is also very important that he mentioned this. Nick doesn't hate, like, I don't have to explain it, he just said it, but it's not about like the race, or it's not about like the people. But the point he's trying to make is that the replacement is taking place, and the people who preach this, they are doing it themselves. So it's not about this the culture or the race of the woman of JD Vance, but the fact that he is doing it with her. That's where he's talking about.
I don't hate her. I don't really have a problem with her in and of herself. Listen very carefully. We expect that the Trump movement will go further. It will go on. And someone will take the baton from him and carry it forward.
JD Vance.
And that person, the way it's lining up, is going to be Vance. And how can Vance take the baton and further the nativist movement when clearly his personal values are not consistent with the values of the MAGA movement? And they really can never be consistent with the MAGA movement. His kids, his 4 kids, 3 or 4 kids, they're not white boys. They're not white boys from a Midwest suburb. They're not white boys from the South. They're not good old boys. They're going to be biracial kids. They don't even look white. So how's he going to be sympathetic to the plight of the young white men that are being replaced by his kids? Now, you have people that are shilling for Vance, and the pretense, why should we vote for Vance? Because he's just as extreme as Trump, if not more. It's the same people that shilled for Trump. And what was the pretense for supporting Trump? He's going to close the border. He's going to deport millions. He's going to be a nationalist. So you have this extreme contradiction.
Yeah.
You have somebody who is ostensibly against replacement migration, but they're rooting for someone like Vance, who's married to a foreign-born woman.
Isn't that the definition of like hypocritism, or like being a hypocrite? That you say you want something and you do completely the opposite? Sounds very hypocrite to me, but anyway.
And someone like Matt Forney says on Twitter, well, you know, she has an American accent. She acts like an American. Aren't these the same cocksuckers that are always telling us about heritage Americans, legacy Americans? They're allergic to saying white. When they say that America should not change, they're allergic to saying that it should not go from white to not white. So in order to dress it up and play games, they say, well, it's not racial. They say it's about citizens, heritage Americans, legacy Americans, traditional Americans, the traditional American nation. And when all is said and done, This is what they mean by that? Usha Vance is a first-generation tiger mom. Her whole family is Indian. Her family has connections to the Indian government itself. And you're telling me that because she speaks with an American accent, she's as American as you and me? I'm sorry, you're a white nationalist? You sound like John fucking McCain. I'm sorry, you're telling me because Usha Vance acts American, whatever that means, sounds American, her parents are from India. Her family's connected to the Indian government.
Is that true? That's all new for me. I didn't knew this, but is it true? Like, is her family like, really? That's kind of suspicious. I'm wondering how many vice presidents or like how many people in other countries are married to a white person? Because I only see this in Western countries that like kings or queens or like ministers, prime ministers, presidents, that they marry interracial. But I never see like an Indian woman marrying a white man. I never see like, for example, in Mexico, a woman or a man marrying interracial. It's always happening in the Western world, in my opinion. And that's kind of suspicious and kind of weird. And also just like interracial marriage, it's almost only in the Western world. Isn't that like kind of weird? Like sounds like an agenda to me. But that's just my opinion.
Her kids are Indian. They took a vacation in India. They got off the boat yesterday. They're as American as you and me. They're as American as someone whose family goes back to the Civil War. Isn't that what these people always talk about? Now they say all you need is to have an American accent. Well, Vivek Ramaswamy has an American accent. Zohran Mamdani has a pretty good American accent. Didn't they just get done saying Zohran Mamdani's a race communist because he's a foreigner from a third world country? What applies to Zohran that does not apply to Usha?
Double standards.
What can be said about Zohran Mamdani and Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib that cannot be said about Usha Vance? And why are you willing to make an excuse for one and not the other?
Hypocrite. Double standards.
It's bullshit. You expect people to go along with this? For 10 years, they have pushed this legacy America, heritage America. Third world is spiritually leftist, spiritually brown. Dude, she's fucking actually brown. Spiritually brown, spiritually third worldist. Bro, her parents are from the third world. They live there. She's actually brown. Vance's kids are actually brown.
You can't deny this. It's true.
And now they're telling us, well, you know, what are you, some kind of racist incel? Okay, so is it me? That now all of the Nazi schizo-Aryans are coming around and telling us, wait, so you're not going to vote for him because he's a cosmopolitan race mixer whose wife is from India? The only reason you'd say that is because you're a fucking racist incel. Okay, what just happened?
That's also so true. Like, for example, if many people sometimes say, if you say like Africa for the Africans, Asia for the Asians, it's all right. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you say like America for the Americans or like the Western world for like white people, then you're suddenly like racist. That's kind of a double standard, right? Because if like white people go to Africa, they are like colonizers. But so how do we call then African people who move to our countries? That's then all, we don't have a word for that. I hate this double standard, and that's very good that he is mentioning this, because people need to talk about this more. You have so many double standards in like cases like this. But anyway, that's also my opinion.
Am I on Rachel Maddow? Am I being punked? What is this? I thought you guys were white nationalists. Now I'm a racist incel if I'm like being consistent here? It's crazy. Anyway, so I know we've covered that a lot, but wow, they are really struggling. This is the kind of stuff they're putting out. I couldn't even believe it when I read it, that they thought this was effective. And you see now, and by the way, there's a very important point inside all of this, which is the GOP, as you know, is not for the white man. It is not for the white man. The GOP does not care about the white man. And that includes Donald Trump. Donald Trump does not care about the white man. JD Vance does not care about the white man. The GOP does not care about the white man. They can't even say the words white. Donald Trump will talk about South Africa and the farmers. He won't even call them white. He will talk about black unemployment, Hispanic unemployment. He will not talk about white people. He won't even say the word white.
Suspicious.
Donald Trump, JD Vance, and the GOP care about the billionaire donors. That's who they care about. They care about their Silicon Valley donors. They care about their Jewish Zionist donors. That is who they work for.
So long story short, they just say what the voters want to hear, so they get voters from these people, or they just say what the people like to hear, so they get as many votes. And once they have those votes, they just do whatever they want. They just listen to their biggest donors, to their biggest investors, and they don't care about the voters anymore. Anyway, this was it for today. I hope you liked this video. If you do, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, even better. And thank you all for watching. I appreciate it. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.